do the prologue. Um,
Well, there's like a two-part prologue, so we could do half each.
that's what I thought.
Mhm.
But I still want to put it on the board before I actually get the episode rolling because it's
So we
bad.
don't get the Boomer Matt describes what he's doing to the audience section
Yeah,
anymore.
right. I don't want to do the bad podcasting section where that I never remember to edit. So, because I'm doing like 4 Twilight Zones this week, I won't,
Mm.
I'll do my glance at the clock if someone drops
Oh,
a
I'm
name.
gonna swear loads then.
See your whiteboard. Okay, and let me split it up because I did not do that. It was funny. What did we do with Mark yesterday? We did Young Man's Fancy, which has maybe the second longest prologue for the Twilight Zone. I think it's Good Life has the longest, but
Yeah.
okay. Let's see. En route
Sometimes you get little blurbs, sometimes you get a long one. Then the ending ones are usually short.
coming. So this is an actual submitted for your approval. I thought he never actually said that.
Yeah, I don't know if you oh no, I think Imagine If You Will. They're Picture It If You Will. That's the one that people have, that one where you think he said it, but he didn't really say it. What is that called? The Mandela effect or something like that?
Yeah, like Luke, I am your father.
So I did notice the audio again a little bit, Matt.
Yeah,
The
it came
audio.
through. Luke, are you hearing
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, you sound a little bit tinny.
How about now? I'm
Yeah, that
twisting
sounds
shit.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes just twisting shit. Yeah, the other thing is you have to put the cord in at an angle, which is fucking weird. But yeah.
Yeah.
When I was on my flight to Japan the first time, the headphone jack on my chair, I had to hold the cord in at an angle for the entirety of Wonder Woman.
Well, it's like your lasso, right? You
Sure, I
lasso a
guess.
truth while you're watching
I
the
knew
movie.
what you meant. It's just didn't make sense.
Low system resources may affect your audio quality. Okay, like close my browser. That should help. I tried to get a new microphone. I had this. I think I told you, Luke. I had to send like another one back. That one just because it was crap. So I think, yeah, I was sitting in the car with you. I think I just have to get the Yeti at some point. So
Yeah, or the snowball. Snowball's still what I'm using.
yeah. I don't know. I've been some of our other podcasting friends have talked me into going the extra distance for the Yeti if I'm going to do it. So
I
okay,
see.
I guess we will roll into this one and do it.
That's on you, mate.
Yeah, I know. I put a 5 second pause, right?
Was that 5 seconds?
No, I ruined it.
I was gonna say, I think you
Welcome to Time Enough Podcast. It's where we delve into all of the episodes of the Twilight Zone and beyond. As always, Matt is here. Luke is here for a comedy episode. You want up after he sneezes? Power sneeze. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean
Here.
that sneezing on my intro is a funnier joke than anything in this episode, so
So yeah, you're on another comedy episode, which you were complaining for a while that I kept giving you.
yeah, so then apparently it was demanded that you keep putting me on comedy episodes because I hate them
Right,
so
right,
well.
right. So so we're doing a 3 for today. The other fellow here is well now a regular, but he was like, I like Luke on the comedy episode. So it's like, okay, let's make this is kind of like the WrestleMania of comedy episodes then. Hello, Sean.
Hello guys. Sorry, Luke, for making you suffer and going through this one. I do have to ask you, is it worse than Mr. Dingle the Strong?
Yes.
Okay,
Uh
you're yes, I'm no.
well actually no, it's not worse. There is one joke in this that is really funny, but only because it's an episode of The Twilight Zone,
Right.
which is the repeated use of the jump through glass trope.
Oh,
Like that's a joke when it happens in serious episodes. So the fact that they leaned into it and do it like twice in the space of 2 minutes here is great.
and she took that like it was nothing, and she's like, "What's the signal for I'm sorry?"
Yeah, like she should be lacerated to like
Yeah.
ribbons, but no,
It
she
is
we
a
see her getting
Twilight
on a
Zone
bus a
episode.
second
You
later.
could end up that
Yeah,
way. Um question for you guys, because I have the Blu-ray and I had the option of laugh track or no laugh track.
Both the versions I found that I watched, because one of them was messing up, so I found a different one, were no laugh track.
Sean, how about on your end?
I have the collection on DVD, and I got a way to watch it on Paramount, so it came minus laugh track. And I will say I've never seen it with the laugh track. Never.
I did go with laugh track. Now I have MASH DVDs. You can turn the laugh track off on MASH. I always turn the laugh track off on MASH, but for this one, I don't know. I just was like, this is the only Twilight I'm going to watch with one, so I guess I'll do it because I do. I hate laugh tracks. I don't think a show should be telling me when to laugh, but in this case, I needed it to tell me when it was supposed to be a joke.
I don't like laugh tracks. I am somewhat okay with filmed in front of a live audience. Which, like, when you're watching it, I guess there's not much difference, but in principle, one of them seems more fair than the other.
Yeah, I guess.
And then I was going to say there's good laugh tracks. Well, there's some good, when I mean good, I mean they're not overused, and they're not annoying where you would see those TGIF shows or like Saved by the Bell, and every time somebody hot would walk in or somebody was kissing, it'd be like, woo.
Well, Saved by Bell, of course, had the audience of children, the live
Yeah.
the audience of
The
children.
tweeners, the tweens, yeah.
The tweens, yes. Laugh tracks. Oh, yes, my favorite laugh track of all time is in David Lynch's Inland Empire, a very long movie shot on digital. I don't like the fact that it's shot on early digital, but it has sequences which you can watch on YouTube. And Luke, I think I maybe tried to show everybody this before. I don't know if you were a coworker at that point, but it's Rabbits, the sitcom.
Oh, yeah,
Rabbits.
you showed me Rabbits, not at work, just independently.
Okay, yeah, but that's where the people in the creepy rabbit suits are in a dark, dank living room set. Just there's eerie, like ambient music playing. They come out and just say, "Honey, I have come home," and then the audience just rips out in laughter. So that's my favorite laugh track.
Yeah, I actually referenced David Lynch's Rabbits on a Pokemon podcast a few months back.
Okay, so you're tasting that flavor, sure.
Yeah.
Flavor of the rabbit. But that's my favorite laugh track. Let's get into this episode, I guess. So I will do the trivia. Original air date was May 25th, 1962. Script is by Rod Serling, a bit in search of another show. This is an early example of a backdoor pilot meant to spawn off a new show. It did not work here, but would later go gangbusters with resultant series like Mork and Mindy, Frasier, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Better Call Saul. Worked with all those. So
something I saw on the old the Wikipedia just now, this wasn't even Rod's first attempt.
Yep.
In the Twilight Zone?
I know where you're going to go with this, but I'll let you finish.
Mr. Beavis, or whatever it was called, the previous Guardian Angel one.
Yep.
Was also him trying to get his idea for a Guardian Angel show off the ground.
Yeah, so I guess it took we eventually get Highway to Heaven, Touched by an Angel. Like,
yep.
A little different than the Rod Serling flavor would have been, but
yeah.
I also
Rod Serling was convinced that this idea was gold. For whatever reason.
Yeah. It's some people get the get fixated on the
This was his driving crooner.
Well, if you think about it, hasn't this trope kind of been repeated throughout series and movies? This whole, this genie or this guardian angel is going to show you what your life can really be like, and it else, you end up seeing yourself where you're full and rich with everything you already have. You don't need to see how it is on the other side. You know what I mean?
I guess it works.
How obnoxious would be a whole TV show that did that every week, though?
Yeah.
You're like, look, peasants, you're fine in your place. That would what I would call this show.
Sorry, let me get back on track with the trivia. But yeah, where were we? Christian Nyby.
Don't worry, I'll get you off it again.
No, that's fine. I wanted to make sure I get back to it and not forget it. I almost forgot the tripometer yesterday. Christian Nyby directed. While he has all those cowboy TV credits like Gunsmoke and Wagon Train, let's focus on his feature film career. He edited classics such as The Big Sleep and Red River and notched a notable genre credit with Luke, do you know it? We've said this guy's name before.
No.
1951's The Thing from Another World. It's been a
Okay.
while since we said his name.
Yeah. Plus, what when I hear the thing, I just immediately start thinking of the cast and the director of the later one.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, of course, the 2000s one.
Yes, by that.
Yeah.
I was going to make that joke, but I didn't feel like it. But you did. Agnes
I'll never
Grep.
leave a joke unmade. You know this.
Agnes Grep was played by Carol Burnett. It's no stretch of the imagination to note that she was the lead of the wildly popular comedy variety show, The Carol Burnett Show. You also find her in films like Annie and Horton Hears a Who, and even more recently on the TV show getting a second shout out in this episode, Better Call Saul. Jessie White, yeah, she's old in it. Look for the old lady.
Also, I don't know that you could set Better Call Saul a backdoor pilot a while ago. Like, Saul showed up in like season 2 of Breaking Bad, and then Better Call Saul came out like 6 years later. I don't know if it was actually a backdoor pilot.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't actually type that into my trivia. I just started saying it, and once I started saying it, I had that exact same thought, but thought,
Yeah,
maybe
but
no
like,
one will call me on it. But now I've been
you
called on
might
it.
be right because the first episode he appears in is called Better Call Saul and does feel like a backdoor pilot. But then he becomes a major part of the series for like 3 more seasons before he gets his own show.
Well, you could say Star Trek Strange New Worlds is the backdoor pilot from Star Trek Discovery, or you could just say it's the season order from the 1965 pilot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can call it the original Trek if you want, although that feels weird. One more guy, Jesse White, played Harmon Cavender. He appeared alongside Jimmy Stewart in the classic Harvey, but made a bigger impact as Old Lonely and Maytag commercials from the 1960s to the 1980s, but not for any of us because we're slightly. I mean, I might have seen him in the 80s, but he didn't really leave an impact. So I felt like he'd have bigger credits. I mean, he does have screen presence here. He seems like someone that would be in stuff.
He gives me Ed Asner vibes.
Maybe that's what I was getting. Yeah.
And he was also in Stop at Willoughby. He was push, 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 from season 1.
Maybe
the boss.
Okay, maybe that's what did it for me. Yeah, the push, push, push. So
I also saw him on one episode of Green Acres as a judge. But he got around in all those shows at the time.
I know I've said Green Acres on this show a lot, but I've never actually seen it. I don't know. I guess in 2024, I'm unlikely to start. Well, you never know if I suddenly,
I'm an old man in a 30-something-year-old's body. So
yeah, I mean,
I watch a lot of older shows.
I'm watching this show.
Hey, are you a farmer? Because here's a couple of acres.
Okay, who wants the lazier part of this 2-part prologue?
Small message of reassurance to that horizontal young lady. Don't despair. Help is en route. It's coming in an odd form from a very distant place, but it's nonetheless coming.
It was pretty good, but it went really weird when you said en route.
Yeah, I can't say a French word in a Schwarzenegger accent. It just doesn't work.
En route. Yeah, okay. Of course, whenever I do it, it's McBain, but
En route to the chopper.
I can't even do this justice. Submitted for your approval. The case of one Miss Agnes Grep, put on earth with 2 left feet, an overabundance of thumbs, and a propensity. I'm struggling with this word here. Propensity for falling down. Propensity. Thank you guys for falling down manholes. In a moment, she will be up to her jaw in miracles, wrought by an apprentice angel, Harmon Cavender, intent on winning his wings. And though it's a fact that both of them should have stood in bed. Stood in bed? Should have been stayed in bed?
Yeah, that's Matt.
They,
That's Matt.
they will tempt all the fates by moving into the cold, gray dawn of Twilight Zone.
I think that's a wiki mistake, but yeah, I could have read it beforehand. Yes, so which I didn't do.
Well, sometimes I know when you watch with subtitles, if you guys have that option, sometimes the subtitles will mess up.
I have the really messed up subtitles because I'm watching all of this stuff on like dodgy websites.
Like I'll watch like when I catch up on some Japanese wrestling stuff, like some videos they put on YouTube, and I'll have to translate it into English. I know they're totally messing up words. Like I know they're not saying this.
Sorry, I had a thought and I lost it. Hey Luke, do you know who Carol Burnett is?
No.
Okay, just curious. I feel like she's kind of like Americans would know, but maybe they wouldn't
Yeah,
across the pond.
she's kind of like an American icon. So it makes sense. Yeah, Luke wouldn't he wouldn't know too much, but her show, it didn't do it for me too much. I mean, I didn't grow up with it, but when it reruns on MeTV a lot, and too much singing and dancing for me. I was more of a Vicki Lawrence fan. It was like her best friend all those years and like one of her co-stars on the show. And
Yeah, I've never even seen the show. I mean, I've probably seen a little bit of it because it does. It again, it is a big part of American culture. But
some of the sketches go on just way too long. I
Saturday
think
Night Live
Mama's
still does
Family
that.
or The Family was one of her best creations, probably. Did you guys ever watch Mama's Family with Vicki Lawrence? Have you ever heard of that?
I did see that because that would just permanent in the late 80s, early 90s. That would just permanently be on at Sundays at like some weird part of the afternoon, like
It used to be on
4:30 or
TBS for
5:30.
me back in like the early 2000s. It would like be on before like Full House and Saved by the Bell and TBS
All
used
of
to do.
this, all of these shows you're talking about sound like made up TV shows from a textbook to me.
What's happening and what's happening now? Sorry, when you said Mama's Family, I was like, oh, the theme song stuck in my head, but I realized it's actually the theme song for What's Happening. So I guess that one's catchier.
Well, it was originally the sketch was called The Family, and I feel like that would be a British show or something. I feel like there's a British show called The Family. Is there, Luke?
Yeah, there was. My Family was called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, that's right. I don't know why I recently heard history about Mama's Family, but yeah, it was based off of the British one. But you wouldn't have heard of it because why would they? Why would you?
Yeah.
It's kind of like
I
how.
I don't think they're the same. The show I'm thinking of is the same show because the show I'm thinking of is from like the 90s.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably not it. Um. Anyway, yeah, Americans, you see her on screen, even if you're not into your show, you're like, oh yeah, it's Carol Burnett. That's great. Also, she looks like my aunt when she was young, so it's hard to dislike her from my corner. Even
She's
if
she's she is likable in this. She's just given like not much to work with. But she wasn't like funny.
And this episode, like, I like this episode. I don't hate it. Um, that's saying a lot because a lot of people really like when you talk about worst episodes, people either say this episode or the Baird from season 4. And it's just I can't I guess the Carol Burnett love keeps me from fully wanting to embrace the hate and just keeps my love with it. And whereas you, Luke, you have no Carol Burnett affiliations.
Yeah,
So
I also wouldn't say I hate it, but that's because it failed to raise
well, dislike, I
any
should say.
feeling of
Dislike.
anything from me. I didn't
Oh,
like it. I didn't dislike it. It just happened,
yeah,
and then it was over. Like,
yeah.
well, that
But
puts
there's
me.
not a lot of it's kind of like it lacks a lot too, because there's not much in here. There's like a party, there's a bus ride, there's
yeah,
her
there's
trying to
basically
become a
like there's like a couple of setups, and then there's like 3 scenes in 2 locations.
yeah.
It's like
They
they needed some joke writers, like from down the hall, because Rod Serling is a great writer, but he doesn't construct jokes well.
yeah, and you know
No,
what? Speaking of Rod being the writer, obviously he wrote this one and he wrote Mr. Beavis. So, it's it proves, he can not always turn in some good. There's got to be some not as good ones in the pile as there are with others.
Oh no, I have sometimes just get the image of the guy sitting by his pool talking a script into a dictaphone while sipping a martini. So
but like you know, maybe it's not a debate we should be having yet. But Jordan Peele, he can do horror and comedy.
that
I think we've
is
pretty
true.
conclusively proven that while Rod Sterling might be a master of one of those things, he's not a master of both.
And I would always put forth that turbulence sketch in the Key and Peele show as like one of the best half and halves. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, where he's just like, please sit down, and I don't know, do I have to? Is it the law? Is it the law? And then they starts doing the looks like he's controlling the turbulence with his mind or something. So I'm like, that's a perfect junction of like Twilight Zone weirdness and being funny for me. I guess let's talk about what we do get in the show. One, if you're gonna have angels, why these wings? I mean, they're like epaulets. They're
I
like
brought up
Um,
that. Oh, go ahead, Luke.
I'm guessing either budget or they thought it looked funny.
the second. I mean, you just get a bigger piece of cloth, right? I would assume it's not too much of a
And
push.
do you notice the transition up into the heavens when they were going to the angels was the same transition in the opening credits of the
Yeah,
Twilight
it's the
Zone?
opening credits space shot. Yeah. I
I
did
did
catch that.
wonder if Serling was. I guess he's doing the prologue here because it's the Twilight Zone. But if it went to air, was he going to prologue it every week? That would have been weird.
Well, I think he was physically here for this one because I don't know if you guys have seen that picture of that picture with him and Carol Burnett. I've seen like 1,000 times on Facebook groups, but they're arm wrestling on the floor. Rod Serling and Carol Burnett. While she's in the whole get up of the usherette suit in the beginning.
Well, yeah, he was putting skin in the game for this one, which
Yeah.
like the dummy I thought was much better a few weeks ago, but that was one that he likely wasn't on set for. So
Yeah, and we got Uncle Ben. Well, Uncle Ben, depending on which Spider-Man you watch. There's
Oh yeah.
many variations now.
oh, it's like you choose your doctor. He's always my Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
Uh,
Real quick though, we're on just on the wings thing. So to earn your wings, did he come from another place and he's trying to do good graces like in heaven and he's trying to earn his wings that like why would he have to earn his wings if he's already in heaven?
he was visiting
Shouldn't you
high
have
school
already earned
students.
your wings by going to heaven? I mean, I'm not a
Oh, they
not
don't.
a
He wasn't necessarily a human. Like he's an angel, and he's just like he's an apprentice angel. So maybe all angels have to earn their wings.
Oh, that is true. I was gonna say
Yeah,
I'm not a perfectionist in the whole spiritual world.
Okay, so I do actually have something I thought about before we started recording. I want to propose something to you. Exact same script, exact same cast, except Cavender and the other angels are replaced with biblically accurate angels. Just wheels within wheels, burning 1,000 eyes.
oh hell yeah, of course. That's
Yeah,
always
then
the
it would
toss up.
also this script would then be really funny.
We
What
didn't
could you
have the
have?
budget back then. We didn't have the
You could,
budget for that.
I think you just get like a couple of wooden wheels, catch them on fire, and stick eyes all over them. You could do that on a 60s budget.
And they talk to each other. That's what we're getting at.
Yeah, they talk exactly the same script. Just it's burning wheels within wheels.
I like that. Yeah. No, but one of my first notes is see the laugh track lets you know that the aliens, I mean angels, are funny. So we were in kind of this weird gray area between angels and aliens, and it's still better than the two-headed alien from Mr. Dingle. But
Yeah.
that's, I mean, again, low bar. Here's one I thought about when he's talking to all of the waitresses when the party's about to start. It made me think about a scene from another movie, which was talking to the Korean waitress androids in Cloud Atlas.
Okay, yeah.
It felt similar, how the what was it? The cigarette girls were all almost like robotic in this case. I also noted that he called her Burnett on screen.
Oh, did he? When did he do that?
Because I thought, oh, she's just gonna keep her name. That's I made a note about that. I guess she doesn't change her name for the episode. And then later they start calling her by a different name, Miss Grepp, right? So
Yeah.
but
I thought at one point I thought I heard somebody call her Carol, but
and I heard the Burnett, so yeah, maybe people were like just like slipping a bit, which is weird if Rod was there like watching it and making sure, the wheels are turning, but not the angel wheels. So glitter proves you're a guardian angel, right? If I can produce glitter out of nowhere, that means I'm
If you
an
can
angel.
make it hang in the air and write words, I think so.
Yeah, I need to learn that. What are some other notes?
I was gonna say real quick, speaking on being names being mentioned, did you ever catch the name Polk being mentioned? That was the head angel. That was Howard Smith. I never heard the name Polk ever be mentioned once. The lead angel guy. But they give him the
No.
credit. They give him that name in the credits.
Oh, that's because, in the upcoming full season of Cavender is coming, he would have been a major character, so he's already been named. He's in the show Bible already.
He's like the Perry White of the show, yeah.
But in this case, the show Bible is just the actual Christian Bible.
Well, obviously not, because we didn't get your angels, did we?
No.
Yeah. You live by the book, you put wheels within burning wheels, of course. Oh, here we go. Luke, just to match with you, I did write, you see, it's funny because he resigned and then jumped out the window. Which
Yes, that was great.
Very out of nowhere too.
But that was
So,
great as, like I said, as a parody of Twilight Zone episodes.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think it would have been as funny if this was just a pilot for an unrelated sitcom.
Mm.
But coming after like them using that as a get out of jail free card so many times, seeing it used that flippantly there was really, really funny.
I also, what would I have? I just have that all the '60s alcohol, and this sounds like headache fuel. What was the choice? It was like a sherry or something else that would give me an instant
It was
headache.
like homemade gin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
definitely
yeah. Rocket
gin.
sauce.
Definitely gin.
I like gin, like gin and tonic, but I don't think I would drink my neighbor's homemade gin.
You don't want moonshine? You go blind for a
Um,
while? Be
there
exciting.
was a time, there was a time I would have been bang up for moonshine, but those days are behind me, I think.
No, I'm from the South and I never did the moonshine. My
Mike
dad
and the
bought something claim.
moonshine.
My dad bought something a year or two ago that he claimed was moonshine, but it was like artisanal moonshine, right? So it wasn't really moonshine.
It was just,
I did
Yeah.
drive by a gin in a backcountry
I couldn't
road.
think of a funny joke for what I could say it was instead of moonshine. It's gonna be, oh, it's just Star Twinkle.
Good morning, starshine. Yeah, but yeah, I drove past a back alley still once and took like an art photograph of it. So that was fun. So at least in the '90s, you could still find that in Georgia. You know, I saw someone playing banjo on a country store porch once. He
I'm always
just
disappointed when I remember that you can play all of those string instruments except
Yeah.
the banjo,
I
which I
think I
feel
could
like
play
you
a
should be able to
banjo.
play.
Oh, if you gave me a
You never
banjo,
have.
well, no one's giving me a banjo. Give me a banjo, I'll play it. Sure, I'm sure I could handle a banjo.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve Martin. You take your ukulele and you get right next to him. You should have started playing.
That's what I'll say. I think a ukulele is the same tuning, maybe the same tuning as a banjo. I don't know. Haven't touched one before, so. But no, if it's got strings on it, I can usually make it sound like something. So, well, a harp, I might, I mean, yeah, that would be harder, I suppose. That's different. Like, there were no harps here. Angels should have harps.
Mm.
Ooh, especially if we're doing cheesy '60s angels. So, uh, bouncing around, nice amount of money, still only kind of nice for 1962. Bowling, I thought that was interesting. I was hearing recently about how much cooler bowling was in the '50s than it is now. So now it's kind of like you want to go hang out at the goth club, apparently.
Mm.
But here it's like I want to go bowling, which seems, I don't know,
Yeah, I'm
really simple.
surprised here.
But
I
I
got
mean,
2 bowling alleys still, and they're still in business and still doing good. Surprisingly.
all the sitcoms were all about bowling, so that makes sense if you're trying to get into making a sitcom.
I need to get into the bowling scene. Yeah, the bowling alley near here closed, but then it reopened, probably under different owners or whatever. So it went
Mm.
away and then came back. The other one, I think they teared it down and built a funeral home. And they
I
were
mean,
I
really close
remember.
to each other too. It was weird. They were like within like 300 meters of each other, which is probably
they
why
maybe
nobody
they
cared.
offered the thing to have your ashes made into a bowling ball.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Put it in the
Have your
bowling ball.
skull put into a bowling ball, like in Mystery Men.
Yeah.
Nice.
You better make your will now that you want to be buried in a bowling ball.
No.
Or bowled with, as a yeah.
No, I want to be put in like formaldehyde jelly, but with electrodes plugged into me. And then when people walk past, I go like, and scare them.
Do the changes in this, because I guess it starts getting weird when her, the people she knows doesn't know her anymore, which
Mm.
I mean, that is a bummer. Like, I mean, if she had a nice life but still knew her friends, that'd be cool. So I started thinking about if this is a early kind of butterfly effect thing, or if it's just a simple like It's a Wonderful Life sort of thing. What do you take on
The
that?
latter. Don't
Yeah.
give this
Okay,
credit it doesn't deserve.
okay, yeah, you're probably right. I just want to say butterfly effect because it's such a fun phrase to say. Um,
Mm.
I was a little offended at the end of the party that no one ate the olives in their martinis. I'm not a big fan of olives, but you got to eat the olive in your martini and the worm in your mezcal.
Yeah, if there's a free
Yeah.
snack with your drink, you got to eat it.
That's right. Yeah. So
You know who was at this party that I don't always notice was Donna Douglas from Eye of the Beholder and from Beverly Hillbillies. Ellie Mae Clampett.
Oh yeah. She's at the end of Eye of the Beholder. Sorry, she was just at the party. Was she one of
Yeah,
the?
she was the one in the long gloves. And then towards the end of the party, she says, "Oh, what a party, Aggie, goodbye." She's got the long glove, and they even give her credit on waking in at the end of the episode. I think they just call her like woman number two. But yeah,
Yeah,
she was with the guy at the party.
yeah. You'd think she'd get a bigger role after already being on the Zone. You know, kind of like a legacy thing, but I guess not.
Yeah. I mean, I never normally noticed it, but then after a couple times of watching, I was like, oh yeah, she is at the party. That is her. Just her hair's all different than you normally see it.
Hey, Luke, would you? What if we just changed Cavender to more of a drunken scum bum? You know, I mean, well, I guess he already is one, but we can up that
Yeah,
a
he
bit.
is a drunk.
So yeah, I think a funnier premise for a sitcom would be if he just goes in and ruins people's lives and they don't find out they're happier at the end.
That was always my
If
idea for
like
a show. It's like
if
the
the
Incredible
episode
Hulk,
had
but he
been
screws up the
like
town.
if the episode had been like he gets his wings, oh yeah, good job, she's now a successful and rich person, and then we just cut to her like crying alone in the bathtub, and it's like
Or
Kevin
it goes even darker.
Kevin just goes around ruining people's lives, but like saying like now all your problems are solved.
It's a Twilight Zone. You can do that, you know. You
Mhm.
can go that dark. That's the point of the show.
I don't know. I feel Twilight Zone does, but I feel that was more Hitchcock route. Like Alfred Hitchcock Presents would get really dark at the end sometimes. But of course they couldn't show it because it was still the early 60s, late 50s.
I guess this one just, and maybe one of the reasons that there's not that many points to talk about is this is like maybe one of the least progressive of episodes, just in ideas. You know, there's like no philosophical ideas other that are higher than Sunday school level here, really.
But
Yeah.
maybe the reason Rod Serling wanted to switch to doing this because he was sick of trying to push through ideas that the studio were not ready for. Or just like, fine, I'll just write the most basic Christian sitcom imaginable
Hmm.
and give up trying to be interesting.
Yeah, that, and there is the season 3. I mean, Serling, this is right about the point that he starts teaching in New York most of the time. So
Mm.
he's definitely losing his attention span on the show somewhat. Might just be like, hey, I can write like crappy sitcom episodes. Like I can just spit those out and then go do a few lectures.
Mm. I wonder if, well, again, as we've seen, he's incorrect. He cannot write comedy. But maybe he doesn't realize. Yeah, I guess he didn't realize that writing comedy is actually possibly harder than other kinds of writing.
When it comes to comedy, I guess Frisbee really did it for me. But yeah, now that I think about it, a lot of the comedy episodes weren't his
Frisbee was
strongest.
decent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that a selling joint?
I
Um,
would need to check back on my notes, but
yeah, we
I
need
can
to
do
double
that.
check that. I don't know if it is.
Someone else has to make a point while I'm checking that.
I think the reason Frisbee worked more than others is because it was still doing very Twilight Zone stuff. And that
Mhm.
was the joke, right? The Twilight Zone has these far out situations, and it was what if a guy lied about being in all of these wacky situations and then was in one, which was funny. But then we have
Yeah.
other ones where it's just this is like if this episode wasn't trying to be funny, I don't think it wouldn't even be like an interesting premise for a Twilight Zone.
Here, this might be part of. I brought up my notes for Frisbee, and my trivia on that was that the script is Rod Serling, though the story is credited to Frederick Louis Fox. I guess the point being that there was a better story seed for that, because in this episode it really just seems like, hey guys, I'm trying to be funny, and I have a feeling maybe Rod was quite funny if you encountered him at a party. So that happens. You assume you can write jokes. You're already a writer, that renowned writer. I can do that, and that was not his forte.
Yeah, I remember there used to be a really good like video games YouTube channel I used to watch called Video Gamer. And like the guys on that were really funny, and like when every other channel was doing really dry content, they were doing really funny stuff. And then like as the channel sort of they all left, one of them did like his own YouTube channel, and then he tried to just do a sketch comedy show on there. And it was like, oh, you're not that funny.
Yeah.
Like you were funny when it was in the context where everyone else was being serious and you were having fun with it. but you're not funny enough to just like do comedy on your own.
Yeah, it's like sometimes what you want to do is not your strength, you know? Like I make a lot of music. The thing I could just sit down and spit out is like probably like country and folk music, which isn't really my favorite, you know?
Mm.
But I just seem to be able to do that well. And, you know, I really want to make electro funk, and maybe that doesn't come out as well as I want, you know?
Yeah. Well, as we discussed at the weekend, Matt, you're too white to make funk.
Right, right, exactly. That's kind of why I'm bringing it up. Like, I feel like, oh, I can't really hit that nail on the head, you know?
Yeah.
So that might be the certain thing. Like, hey, I really want to be like, you know, the funny guy of television, but that's just not in the cards.
And it goes the other way. Like a lot of people who do write good comedy, it turns out are not funny people in real life. Like it's two different talents. So maybe Rod is like a really funny guy to be around, and that's why he can put funny character moments in his episodes. But that doesn't mean he's got the chops to be like a full-on comedy writer.
No, with the Marx
Yeah.
Brothers, Zeppo apparently was the funny one if you're having dinner with them. Groucho and Harpo were bummers, and Chico would get you in trouble with, you know, gambling, drinking, and women. So, but he wouldn't be funny. He'd just be like, you know,
Mm.
going to extremes. Whereas on screen, they're hysterical, of course. They're the Marx Brothers. But yeah, I especially find it interesting that, you know, Groucho and Harpo were kind of bummers to be around personally. That's what they say. I guess I'll start throwing out some questions unless someone does have a big observation. Maybe that is where this. Oh, go ahead.
I do got something. I don't know how true this is. I just found this on the website today doing research. Sorry, I didn't get the website's name. Supposedly Rod Serling wrote.
Pornhub.com.
Ah, that's where it is. How do they know about Rod Serling? So I got this. Rod Serling penned a letter to Carol Burnett a couple weeks before this aired, exactly 3 weeks and 1 day before the episode aired. He said, "The show you did for us is not good and it's not bad, which makes it lousy. With a combination of talents like yours and Jesse's, it should have been walloping exceptional." I don't know, that doesn't seem right. That it isn't. Yeah, this is the grammar on this. I should have looked at this a little better. That it isn't points up to the fact that you were done wrong by all concerned. The script, I guess, is part of the trouble, but even more palpable, I'm even saying that word right, is the direction. This was quite the most heavy-handed, ham-fisted, squarish directing I've ever cried through. God knows. Sorry. God knows when it's scheduled for, and I hope you'll be out on a ferry boat someplace so you won't have to see it. I promise that if I give you a second chance, someday I'll make it up to you. Or if given a second chance, I'll make it up to you.
So he
Sorry, I was
was
struggling to read through that because I noticed periods and commas weren't in certain places they should have been. So
But yeah, I guess that shows that Serling, like, at least the writing was on the wall for him before it aired.
maybe he thought it was good. Maybe he thought like it was originally going to be a good idea. Then the process of actually doing it broke him, kind of. And then he had to pin that letter like, "I'm so sorry. Like, hopefully I can make it up to you in a second chance one day," which when they never really got to work together a second time.
And that explains why I was kind of surprised that this was the only Christian Nyby credit, because I'm like, well, he did Thing from Another World. Oh, why do you only do one Twilight Zone? And well, that explains probably why. Like, don't hire this guy again.
Well, don't hire this guy for comedies again.
Yeah. It was. I mean, Thing from Another World. When we watched it, yeah, it's not as good as the Carpenter one, but it wasn't a bad.
It's perfectly watchable.
Film. Yeah. So, it might just be like as he said, they just failed her by getting not an untalented guy, but the wrong guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I do have another question to pose. Does anybody know how that inflation calculator thing works? Does anybody got one on there handy on them? Because I got a number to throw at you. Oh, well, what did you say, Matt? Sorry,
I did think about the amount in the show. It was 28,000, was it?
23,367.19. What would that equivalent to in 2024? Doesn't seem like it'd be a lot.
60,000.
Really?
That's too low. Maybe I'll just say a square 100. I'm going to guess a square 100,000.
Yeah, it's still it wouldn't be as much as it would have been back in the 60s. And that was another thing. I had a question. What time period do you think this is? Is it just modern day?
I took
Is
modern
this
From the
day.
bus, I would take modern day. Yeah,
yeah. That's what I was thinking.
So
$233,000 today.
Okay,
Ooh.
so a 10-time multiplier.
Almost a quarter of a
Yep.
million.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's not insane. I mean,
No.
I guess he didn't want to like. I guess if someone is just like, here's 10 million bucks, that's its own curse. So maybe this is an amount of money where it's nice, but it's not necessarily.
Yeah, the
good.
point was just that she could, live in a house and not work. It wasn't that she was going to be, a baroness or whatever.
Right. So at least I guess that's reasonable. But yeah, I was just I noticed that's a nice amount of money, but still only kind of nice for 1962.
No,
I mean, if someone gives that to me, I'll be happy as a clam, sure. But
yeah. No, yeah, now you gotta convert what does it translate to in yen?
geez.
Basically, just add 2 zeros.
That's changed recently though. That's why I have my Amazon.
A little
Prime
bit,
account.
but not much. And it depends on what context. Are you talking about literally converting it, or are you talking about day-to-day living? Because for us in Japan, the yen hasn't really changed.
Like I was gonna say, if you
it's
took
worth less dollars when you translate it now.
well, I was just basically gonna say if you took all that cash from the United States and you had to convert it into Japan money.
Add 2 zeros and more or less double it.
Okay.
So a fair amount of yen in place there. But yeah, it's I guess it's life changing, but it's not like like Aladdin style insanity. Is my point.
It could be life changing without like being life ruining in the way that some amounts of money can accidentally be.
Yes.
And you notice
if I was given 230 grand, I would make an indie film.
Can you direct, or are you going to produce?
I'd find out.
Wait, so you're going to be director, producer, all that?
Lead actor.
Write the theme tune, sing the theme tune.
Yeah. He's going to be his own Citizen Kane, but more credits. I'm the only one in this movie. Okay.
Let's make the credits easier at the end. You just got to put one name on there.
And then, do it Hideo Kojima style.
And you need to hire another guy named Luke Summerhayes to be the cameraman.
Yeah, I'd hire that swimmer.
Yes, hire the swimmer to be the cameraman, then every credit can be Luke Summerhayes. So that's cool. Weird words. I remember somewhere around in previous seasons somewhere, like the same weird word keeps cropping up in the scripts. Recently that would be discombobulated.
Yes, that also popped up in Mr. Beavis.
And it was in Mr. Beavis. Okay, no, it was in something else recently. I don't quite remember which one, but yeah, that's certain. I don't know. I guess we should all like try and get that word back in common use.
Again, maybe it's a word that it was really funny when Rod would say it in social gatherings, and he thought that just putting it in a script would be funny.
He probably put zing on the boob. I don't know. That's how you say it funny, right?
Yeah, discombobulated.
One of the lines I never got in Twilight Zone, because maybe it was a term in the 60s that I just didn't get, was in season 4. I'm blanking on the episode right now, but there's this one line that says, they're calling muster on me. They're calling mustard.
Not muster. Like a...
Like, not like it's M-U-S-T-E-R.
Yeah.
They're calling muster on me.
I think it's... I guess I don't... Well, I'll get to that when I get to it, but muster is like rounding the troops together or something. Muster them in. Yeah.
The way he was talking, it was like he was trying to describe like they were thinking he was crazy. Like, they're calling me a loony. Well, they're calling muster on me.
If he says something crazy, then that works. They're calling him crazy. He says something crazy.
I think it was the 30 Fathom Grave. That was the episode it was.
Okay. Yeah, I think if I haven't said it on air, I think I've seen the parallel, and that's about it for season 4 so far. Obviously, in a few months that will change, but
that's a trippy one.
Yeah,
well,
that's why
that would be a big tripometer.
We'll see. Season 4 might be when I have to finally actually pay for these, because watching them on dodgy websites where they freeze every 2 minutes is annoying enough for a 20-minute episode. If it drags out a 40-minute episode to an hour, I might just quit. So,
and one thing I've never gotten either is in the syndication packages, season 4's never even been included.
Yeah,
like,
they don't.
You can hardly ever
you
catch
can't.
anything.
you can't if you're putting them on syndication, you want to be able to slide them all into the same time spot, I suppose. So
Yeah.
And I don't
not
think
that I
that part
understand how
one
any
and
of that works.
two very well. So yeah, they
Like for the Sci-Fi marathon, you'll get 2 or 3 maybe, but they'll put those like wee hours in the morning. So unless you have the DVDs or something, you better stay up in the wee hours in the morning. You want to catch those episodes.
The
They think
later Twilight Zones, like the 80s one and the Peel one, are they 40 minutes?
Mhm.
they are more
Yeah,
variable in length. I have a little bit of the peels are at least like like modern television. Like if it needs to be 30 minutes, it's 30. If it needs to be an hour seven, it's an hour seven. The
Okay.
80s one is weird that it was fit into a time slot, but you'll get 10-minute episodes and then like
yeah.
a 30-minute. Like they're all over the place,
I
and
think
that's
they do 2 for 1
combined.
in some of them.
Right,
Two,
right.
2 and 1. Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of this podcast, I'm like, well, am I going to make one episode for a 10-minute Twilight Zone? I probably not. I don't
I just
know.
watched
Yeah, do
one.
it. Why not?
I just watched one 80s episode. It was called I Am Newton with Sherman Hemsley. Sherman Helmsley, sorry.
Yeah, I got the discs in like when I started this podcast. I got the 80s one, watched several of them, but now I've kind of put them on ice because I'm like, well, the podcast is going to get to them eventually, so I'll wait.
I
Time to
tried
put
with.
Batman on ice.
That's right.
Sorry, you gave me another one.
No, you had another one to do. You had another one, Luke. You were supposed to do what killed dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
The Ice Age.
Let me do my questions. In this episode, who went in through into the Twilight Zone? I said it
Rob
twice.
Serling, when he discovered that what he thought was his life was actually not. He had the most Twilight Zone experience of anyone, I think.
He had to write that letter.
Yeah.
I
He had his
like
dreams come true, and then turns out they were a nightmare.
I do like that answer, but I do have to be like, well, narratively, who went in or through the Twilight Zone?
Well, you can say that. I'm not going to give you one.
Okay, I got that's why.
Difficult are we do, Luke? Difficult.
That's why I got. That's why I got 2 guests today. That's your cue, Sean.
Yeah. Okay. So yes,
Join me.
We'll go with the fair answer here. Miss Agnes Grepp went into the
Coward.
Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I guess Cavender's too much of the Twilight Zone, but he's such a goofball. You're supposed to still relate to him, so I do wonder if I should consider him also he's having this experience like One for the Angels or something. I guess less dark than that, of course, but
I would
One for
say
the
that.
Angels, a better episode.
Does any of your neighbors go into the Twilight Zone? Did they realize what happened, or is it just back to the normal status quo for them once it all goes back to normal?
If you got a physicist living next door, yeah, reality change. It's like Scarlet Witch stuff going on here, right?
Yeah.
But well, let's put it on Miss Grepp then. I guess that makes the sense where it does. Well, okay, no, let's do Luke's first. Did Rod Serling deserve this?
I will have to wait and see how good seasons 4 and 5 are, because if it made him like reappraise and think, oh, actually, this show is really good. I'm not cut out for comedy. I should double down. Then yeah, maybe it did him good. If it just bummed him out and ruined his day, then I don't think he deserved that. He seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, looking over again, I haven't seen season 4, but it looks like there's not so much comedy in season 4. I mean,
Well, I did.
hour,
Mark
so
did share that the comments on season 3 where like the guy was like, "Oh, great," and then the other guy was like, "F you, it's the worst season."
Season
So
3?
maybe,
I know a lot
yeah.
of people don't like season 5, but season 3, wow.
I feel like
I
2 and
mean,
3
it's
is
like
usually
everything, right? Someone says it's the
Yeah.
best thing ever, and someone says it's the worst thing ever. That's the internet for you.
Yeah.
those are
When they say our opinions are all like assholes, we all got them.
It's like on our Trekkie friends always say every episode is somebody's favorite and somebody's least favorite, right? So
Yeah, aren't you in the category with that? Isn't there a Star Trek Next Generation episode or Voyager episode that you like that not a lot of other people like, Matt?
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, Matt's weirdly a huge Voyager fan. So
Course Oblivion from Voyager. I feel like people. Oh no, the fight even more so. I even understand it's not a good episode, but I love it because it has chaotic space and Chakotay boxing in his head, inside his head, and it's really ham-fisted, like literally and figuratively.
Whenever I think of Star Trek episode and I think of a fight, I just think of the original series, where Spock had to battle Kirk.
I mean, the music does it, right?
yeah.
That's some of the only real fight music, I think. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So okay,
Which Jim
that's
Carrey movie is it that uses that? Is it Cable Guy?
I was
Wait, that's
like
not even
best
him.
Cable Guy. No,
Yeah,
that's Jim
no, that's
Carrey.
him.
It was
Okay, yeah,
first $20 million paycheck given to an
yeah.
actor for Jim Carrey for the Cable Guy. Now you got to
Nice.
pay him. That's why Endgame cost so much to make. They had to pay all the
Yeah,
actors.
yeah, because he still didn't spend it on the effects.
um, so Miss Grep, does she deserve this? I mean, she kind of
Yeah.
she kind of gets accosted, doesn't she?
I'll
She
say
didn't even
she
ask for
doesn't
hands.
deserve. Well, and it costed in more ways than one when you had Jean Paul Pierre making out with her arm. That's not even the dude's real name. I'm just making. He was a French guy. He sounded French. But that guy that was all making out with her arm and kissing her fingers and stuff. But and she was like, she pulled her hand back and she's like, "What are you trying to get a piece of meat or whatever?" She said.
I assumed this was going to turn to an eyes wide shut party, 5 hours down the line.
Oof. I think no, there was only one party this was going to be, and I will say she did deserve it. She didn't deserve this, but I will say there was only going to be a cocktail party because Cavender set up the party. He loves his cigars, he loves his gin, so this had to involve booze. I don't know if Eyes Wide Shut if it was a booze party. I know there was orgies and stuff. I've never actually seen the movie.
I assume that. No, I think they were drinking there too. I mean, it's the
The
probably
pills
more
getting
like
passed
the
around.
look at here. Yeah, that sort of thing. Um, yeah, I did she learn anything from this experience? I mean, she's like, wait,
The
Yeah,
angels seem to think so. So,
what do you think?
I
yeah,
mean, that's just like, yeah, anytime you have a bad day, you feel better when you have a good day. That doesn't mean that, like, she needed this exact experience.
She is like way too energetic at the end when she gets her life back. So, but I guess that's once again that's the wonderful life trope where you're
Hmm.
la 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 that sort of thing. So tripometer, Luke, I know you don't want to give a number, so what are you gonna give this one? Okay, Sean, you want to put a number on it or not? You can make a noise if you want. I guess he did.
I wish I could make a Tim Allen noise, but that's not deserving of a Tim Allen noise. Um, I gotta go with the two. The only reason I'm going with a two, at least, is because she did enter a Twilight Zone and she did trip out because she got to see an alternate reality where she was Miss Belle the Ball. Everybody was uh they weren't her real friends, but they were there kind of support her. And she got to see what the rich life looked like for at least a second. And she had to see how much she missed her normal, ordinary life. So a
Yeah,
little
I don't
trippy,
know.
I guess.
I was thinking like 1.5. One of those. I never really settled on one, but the point is, yeah, it's trying to be funny. It's
So
not
you're
trying to
saying
be
this is
trippy.
less trippier than Mr. Beavis? Because I
I
just listened to Mr. Beavis with you doing that. You gave it a 2 point, like, and it was 2 point something. I couldn't remember that exact number.
I I feel it's been a while since I watched this reviews, but I felt like that had a little bit more like weirdness.
I
Also,
do
his
remember
name's
liking
Beavis.
Beavis a little more than this.
Mhm.
I think the two parts that made me like it was Beavis himself was more interesting than her because, like, he was a little weirdo even before he met an angel. And then I liked the gag of his own guardian angel really doesn't like him.
Yeah.
It was a funnier gag than Cavender just being an idiot.
That's Orson Bean in that episode, is it?
And I
Yes,
think
that's
with Mr. Beavis, wasn't he going to be evicted? I was thinking at the end of the episode,
Oh
or
yeah, yeah.
he
His
was
life
behind on
was
her.
absolutely falling apart at the start.
Yeah.
He was like fired from his job. Everyone hated him. Lost his car. Evicted from his apartment.
zither
Whereas
music.
sure, Agnes can't hold a job, but at least she's got a steady place of living, and she's got people
Hmm.
around her. Whereas
Yeah,
Beavis, he can't even get to work without the help of kids pushing his car.
here we go. I'm looking at the prologue for Beavis, and this automatically means it has a higher tripometer. Taste lean towards stuffed animals, zither music, professional football, Charles Dickens, moose heads, carnivals, dogs, children, and young ladies. I mean, that alone, that's weirder than anything in Cavender, I think. Like that's
You never want to be in a situation where people can say your tastes lean towards children.
I was
oh
just going
yeah.
to say this might put him on a certain list in 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading verbatim there. I probably, now you might not include that list.
I think I finally know what BW stands for in James BW Beavis.
What's
Boy
BW?
Watcher. Boy Watcher.
So That yeah, cancel that episode now. Okay. Any final thoughts before we Cavender came? Let's send him out the door as quickly as we can. But any final?
My closing
Cavender? I hardly know her.
my closing thoughts would be Cavender came, he saw, and he kicked some ass.
Did he?
Well, he kicked his liver's ass. He drank a lot of booze.
Okay. Yeah. We didn't see the. Well, we did see some of the drunken fights, didn't we?
He passed out at one point, I think.
Yeah, good for him. Passing out this episode is a good move, I think. Anywho, hang up the hat. If you want to support Time Enough Podcast, we're on Patreon at Podcastio Podcastius. You can hear a little extra. You can get them early. Luke is there. He loves Pokemon. Hyrule Field Report, talking about the Zelda game show, doing the games with the gamers. But you're not a gamer.
We just recorded an episode with Matt on it.
Yep. And you said you're not a gamer. Luke doesn't want to be a gamer.
No.
Right.
I would never choose to refer to myself as a gamer.
Radio. Okay. Every time a drunken angel falls, a boy lover gets his wings. What?
Every time a cigar falls from heaven, it's Cavender.
Okay.
Every time you touch yourself, an angel loses his wings.
Damn, I've cost a lot of angels' wings.
Okay, that's the cut now. I'm leaving your body ending.